One of the most original Ukrainian artists of the late 20th century, Polina Raiko is a relatively new discovery. Polina, or Pelageya Andreevna Raiko, was born in 1928 in Oleshki. In Soviet times, a small town in the south of Ukraine was called Turbulent and was renamed Oleshki in 2016 as part of decommunization in Ukraine. Polina Raiko's house in Oleshki is her only major work of art. This is a real discovery for an art connoisseur and a completely unique artifact. Polina Raiko, in her late enthusiasm for art, is similar to her American colleague, the famous Grandma Moses. The Ukrainian artist took up the brush at the age of 69. It all started when she drew a dove of peace on the fence of her house. The dove in folk culture is traditionally a symbol of the Holy Spirit, peace and tenderness. A pigeon and a pair of doves is an ancient image of love and harmony. According to some folk legends, after death, a person's soul turns into a dove. In a short 6-year period, Polina Raiko managed to create her own world full of magical creatures, angels, birds, and animals. An ordinary village woman worked in the garden all her life and occasionally did part-time jobs in the collective farm. In the 1990s, Polina Raiko experienced a tragic death of her daughter, the death of her husband, and later suffered from abuse by her alcoholic son. When her son was sent to prison, Pelageya Andreevna found herself one-on-one with the world of her fantasies, fears, and dreams. She turned her own small house into a work of art, painting all the walls with strange expressive images. Polina Raiko's works trace a peculiar mix of Christian and Soviet symbols. Both are united in a powerful and self-sufficient mythological system in Raiko's world, where they organically coexist and seem to be only secondary elements of a larger fairy tale and epic world that looks at us from the walls of the artist's house. Polina Raiko is somewhat different from all the other artists we are talking about in this short course of lectures. She was born in the USSR, but realized herself as an artist already in independent Ukraine. Also, her practices, despite their obvious folk roots, fit better into the outsider's art paradigm. She did not receive much recognition during her lifetime, worked in complete isolation from the wider Ukrainian artistic scene, and did not sell her works. There was actually nothing to sell. After all, the artist's main and only work are the paintings on the walls of her own house, which she did exclusively to satisfy her own thirst for creativity. This is how the artist described her irresistible urge to create. I was 69 years old when I started drawing. I repaired the fence, I made a yellow cornice on it and planned to draw a dove on it too, but I couldn't. There was a pen with paper on my table because I was writing a letter to my son in prison. I tried. I saw a dove. And then, how it all went for me. I started drawing and drawing. It is boring in winter, there is no work in the garden. So at night, I fall asleep a little, but wake up right away. I get up in the middle of the night, sing church and folk songs, and draw. Most of Polina Raiko's wall paintings are done on a blue background. This is an image of clear skies and sacred purity. The aesthetics of Raiko's work has parallels in Ukrainian folk painting, as well as in Ukrainian traditional wall rugs. For example, the figures that visitors to her house, often confused with owls, are in fact leopards. They were depicted on an old wall rug that hung in Polina Raiko's house. Starting from the 1940s, the so-called bazaar rugs became widespread almost throughout the whole territory of Ukraine. Important elements of such rugs were pair-symmetric images of doves, swans, and deer. The composition is a universal image of the world structure and world order. In the rugs, you can follow the division of space into 3 spheres: heavenly, upper sphere symbolized by doves and a flower sun, earthly, middle sphere symbolized by deer and trees, and lower, underground, otherworldly sphere symbolized by swans. In a way, Polina Raiko recreates this magical structure of the universe in her wall paintings. Another important motif of her paintings is an angel. It is a widespread theme of Ukrainian folk painting, which partially originates from mass-printed postcards of the beginning of the 20th century. Polina Raiko's angels are guarding the house. One more striking image of Raiko's house is a World War II woman captain whom Polina reportedly saw in a dream. One of the few sad and even frightening images in Polina Raiko's house is a black raven with a small white chick in his mouth. For Polina Raiko, it was a symbol of the loss of her beloved daughter who tragically died in a car accident. Flowers play an equally important role in Polina Raiko's poetics. They are one of the most important symbolic elements in the art of many cultures. For a Ukrainian Naïve, the poetics of blossoming is associated with a festive mood, the triumph of life. Overall blossoming of the picture refers to the idyll of the Garden of Eden. Floral ornament is traditionally used in the decoration of folk dwellings, shirts, towels, and other household items. Painted vases with flowers are an important element of the interior of a rural house of the 20th century. Folk culture distinguishes many varieties of flowers, each having its own poetic and symbolic meaning. The general aesthetics of Raiko's paintings refer to another widespread plot of Ukrainian folk painting, the image of the so-called paradise village, and the idea of the house as a paradise garden. Real villages and settlements in such a coordinate system are only rough and imperfect similes of a heavenly settlement. In the ideal paradise village, this icon of a real Ukrainian village, there is no place for evil, trouble, or even bad weather. The sun always shines, and time seems to have frozen at the eternity mark. It is also important to note in this context that Polina Raiko's family name in Ukrainian and Russian has a distinct connection with the idea of heaven. Rai means paradise in both languages. Polina Raiko passed away in 2004. Almost immediately after that, her work began to attract a galaxy of talented artists and curators. It was they who became the main popularizers of the artist's talent. The figure of Raiko played a major role in the formation of artistic conditions in Kherson. In 2005, the Kherson Center for Cultural Development Totem published a catalogue of paintings by Polina Raiko, The Road to Paradise. In 2006, a documentary film Paradise dedicated to Polina Raiko's work premiered. After the artist's death, her heirs were not interested in preserving and promoting her heritage. The house with the paintings was sold to a businessman from Canada, who gave the house as a wedding gift to his Ukrainian wife. However, the couple soon lost interest in Raiko. Although the house remains in private ownership, before the Russo-Ukrainian War it was cared for by the Polina Raiko Charitable Foundation. The foundation was created in 2004 by Kherson artist, curator, and organizer of the Kherson Museum of Contemporary Art, Vyacheslav Mashnitsky. Before the war in Ukraine broke out, the foundation was very active. As part of its activities, the foundation was not only interested in Raiko's work, but also organized exhibitions of contemporary artists, Stas Velezlovsky, Alexei Sai, and others. It was the most dynamic contemporary art organization in Kherson in the 2010s. For many years in a row, artists and activists from Kherson led by Mashnitsky traveled to Aleshki. They helped to preserve and document the legacy of Polina Raiko, and also brought artists, art historians, and curators from all over Ukraine and showed them the works of the extraordinary author. Polina Raiko's fame gradually grew. A big role in the popularization of her name was also played by Kiev figures, the artist Boris Egizaryan, as well as Lydia Likhach, the owner of the publishing house Rodovit and the curator of projects of Ukrainian Naïve art. With the beginning of Russia's open aggression against Ukraine in 2022, Polina Raiko's house museum found itself on the territory temporarily occupied by the Russian army. It suffered severely as a result of the flood caused by the explosion of the Kakhovka Dam in the summer of 2023. The house survived, but a big part of the wall paintings was lost. This was reported by Semen Khramtsov, an artist from Kherson and representative of the Polina Raiko Charitable Foundation. On the first day of the disaster at the Kakhovka Dam, on June 6, Polina Raiko's house museum was underwater. The building is made of adobe, a mixture of unburned clay, straw, and sand, which does not deal with water well. Most of the interior walls of the building collapsed. No more than 30 or 40% of the paintings on the walls and ceiling have been preserved. When the world learned about this tragedy, experts and regular people all over the world started talking and writing about Polina Raiko. However, destruction of unique paintings of the artist's house is a colossal, irreparable loss. Also, during the Russian occupation, one of the main artistic figures of Kherson, the head of the Polina Raiko Foundation, Vyacheslav Mashnitsky, went missing and was probably killed by the Russians.